Oh, it is. It is. I didn't do it that. Because you know you got to throw a flyer. Yeah, that's it. You know, I'll tell you, the whole is right. Exactly. Yep.
Let's get started. Read the bullhorn or not?
Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you, God, for your grace and your mercy, Father God. We love you.
No, I know that you have this stuff.
We want protection, Lord, for our kids, God. We want protection, Lord, for our police officers. We want protection, Lord, for the city. We want protection for this nation, God. So, Lord, help us. Help us to be wise. Help us, Lord, to be peacemakers, oh God. And help us, Lord, this community to come together. So I ask God to protect our children, our NYPD, our leaders here, God. And Lord, we just want to thank you. We love you, Lord. Thank you. In the name of Jesus. Amen.
God is great. Everybody has a mind. The flag, please.
Everybody does a mine. Mandatory.
Please salute. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce you to Nick Robbins, who's the gentleman who set up this event. Nick. Hey.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out. As much as I love seeing all your beautiful faces, I wish we didn't have to be here today. In 2019, I, alongside the mothers of the teen victims of the Staten Island oil attacks, founded Protect Our Kids to demand accountability and increase security in the mall. We made our voices heard. Tonight, we do it again. Not just for the mall, but on behalf of the entire city of New York. On Sunday morning, last Sunday, around 3:30 a.m., I was trying to fall asleep after a long day of work and planning this rally. Instead of sleeping, I had to dive off my bed and hit the ground after gunfire erupted outside of my window. I had to crawl on the ground from my room to my mother's room to get her away from the windows because in the past, the Toto houses have had bullets fly through resident windows. We learned an 18-year-old boy of color had been shot in the groin, and I thank God he will recover. But I was scared, I was angry, and damn it, I still am. Others have not been so fortunate. Since announcing this rally, the shooting at my development occurred. A man was murdered in West Brighton. Another was murdered in Manus Harbor. Another shooting occurred in Manus Harbor. And last night, a man was killed in Clifton. This was on top of the 3 shootings that occurred prior to this demonstration being organized. This was just another incident in a string of crimes in New York City. Since the end of June, over 10 people have been shot on the North Shore of Staten Island. 4 have been killed. 2 weeks ago, a 1-year-old was shot in the chest in Brooklyn and killed. A woman was killed in Brooklyn for asking people to stop setting off illegal fireworks. Approaching people setting off fireworks instead of calling 911 was the advice of Borough President Eric Adams. Crystal clear. Her blood and her family's grief lie upon his hands. But this crime crisis in New York City isn't new. Many people have expected New York City to go back to the old days of what one of my neighbors described as the Wild West. This crisis did not form on its own. It's been the product of another crisis, incompetent leadership. So today we put those so-called leaders on notice. To Mayor Bill de Blasio, did street art, aka a taxpayer-funded political ad, to prevent people of color from being killed in my neighborhood. I'm tired of seeing the lives of people of color being recklessly taken, and the solution being smoke and mirror politics. People are still getting killed. And most of the time, the smoke and mirrors doesn't work. That's why they're still protesting in New York City. So to Mayor de Blasio, Public Advocate Jamani Williams, City Council Speaker Corey Johnson, Congressman Max Rose, Councilwoman Debbie Rose, and Assembly members Mike Cusick and Charles Paul. We demand the NYPD's anti-crime unit be fully reestablished. We demand the NYPD's budget be fully reinstated and expanded. We demand you show the same dignity and respect to the NYPD that you give to the mob that is destroying our city. But most importantly, to take the handcuffs off the cops.
Absolutely.
We won't be silenced, and we won't stop fighting for our city. So every single person here today, and whoever this reaches from this point out, I beg you to vote. We have the power to force the change, and we need to use it. You will have the opportunity to vote on November 3rd. And then next year, you'll be able to do that in June and November. In conclusion, God bless the members of the NYPD. God bless the state of New York, the city of New York, and the United States of America. Please join me in welcoming New York City's Parents Union Vice President and candidate for New York City Council, my good friend Sam Pirozzolo.
It's only one letter difference between defund and defend, right? All right, so thank you for coming out. I know it's hot, and I appreciate the fact that everybody is here. And this is a prevent the violence or stop the violence rally, but it really boils down to is a back the blue rally, okay? Because if we're going to defund the police, who's going to be there to stop the violence? Okay, 123 people, I think, last month, were shot in New York. Not one of them was shot by an NYPD officer. Across the country, we have children, 6 kids from 6 to 14 years old, who were shot while doing everyday things. Riding in the car, playing in the park, riding on a stroller. You know, when is this going to stop? You know, we have a totally incompetent governor, a totally incompetent mayor. I mean, how can you paint BLM in front of Trump Tower and think that there's nothing wrong with that? Okay? So, you know, it's not that I'm opposed to BLM, but I kind of think that the phrase is kind of ridiculous because, of course, Black Lives Matter, but so do all other lives. Okay? And we have city council people in New York City who have districts where their public schools, so I'm an education guy, so there are public schools in New York City where their council people are calling to defund the police when that public school has 98% of the students who can't do math, reading, or writing on grade level. But that's okay, let's defund the police. If there's anything that I think that Governor Cuomo and Mayor de Blasio has shown us, is that to them, Black lives do not matter. Because for generations, the governor and the mayor and the school system, I'm not talking about teachers, I'm talking about the New York City Board of Education, the New York State Board of Education, are responsible for the deaths of more blacks and minorities than the NYPD ever will be. That's really where the problem is. So, and I don't want to make this against Democrats. Maybe some of you here are Democrats. Democrats are really not the problem. It's the new Democrat, the Democratic Socialist, okay, the Democrat Socialists of America. That's where we have a problem. We have a lot of people who say, oh, you know, it would have been my mother and father, my neighbors. Everybody says, oh, you know, I vote Democrat. The days of the Kennedy Democrat are gone, okay? You're voting Democrat now. You're voting for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. You're voting for Max Rose, who has walked with BLM, okay? It's different today than what it used to be. So I don't want to use a broad brush and say that it's Democrats. You have to be careful. The problem that we face in this city is one-party control. When one party controls everything, we obviously have a problem, and that's where we are. Now, yes, I'm running for city council. My election is not until 2021. I'm a Republican, and people say, well, you know, okay, Joe Borelli's a Republican, Sam Pirozzolo's a Republican, Mike Riley's a Republican. Listen, Lord knows that's not enough. A few drops in the ocean is not going to do it. What we need to do is we need to increase the amount of Republicans or conservatives or right-leaning Democrats. I don't mind if someone is a Democrat, but they have to be on the same page. And right now, the book is being written by people we do not like. So it's important that we spread our word not only from Staten Island, but into Brooklyn, into Manhattan, into Queens, into the Bronx. There are people there who feel just like we do. I have a lot of friends who say, I don't want the police out of my neighborhood. It's the most ridiculous thing you could think of. So I ask you today to think about it, to talk to your friends, to talk to your family. I don't know, people say, I'm registered as a Democrat, but I vote Republican. That's fine, but you need to vote. And we have Republicans. So for example, My race, I'm going to wind up being in a primary. As a Democrat, if you support me, you won't be able to support me in my primary. So we need people to change parties. We need people to become active. It's essential if we want to break away from this one-party rule of New York City. And we really have to do that. So I ask for your support. One other topic I'd like to touch on is Staten Island secession. And now, I'm not advocating that Staten Island secede, but it certainly is an option. It is an opportunity. The opportunity is there. I have a website that's called Stexit, like Brexit, Stexit.com. And there's the survey, there's a short survey up there, and tomorrow I'll be putting up a study that was done by the Dinkins administration. When people talk about leaving Staten Island, you all of a sudden you get the fear-mongering. What about the pensions? What about the police? Who's going to pay for services? Well, you want to have that conversation. Look what's going on now. You want to stay here and go in the direction we're going? Or you at least want to have an intelligent conversation about maybe we can get out. Maybe we can do something different. Because I'll tell you right now, people are seceding, but they're seceding with their feet. And they're leaving New York City. And they're leaving New York State, and we're going to be left here. So we need to fight back, we need to think, we need to work together, we need to be active. So I ask for your support. Thank you very much for coming out today. Please keep it in mind. You're going to meet some good people here today. We have Paul, who's running for assembly. We have Anthony DeGear. Nicole Maliatakis is here. I'd like her to say something, but she said, she had a busy schedule. I don't know if she's still around. Okay, she's got a busy schedule. So, before we move on to the next speaker, I have a friend, his name is Steve Margarella. A lot of you people may know Steve because Steve held the rally out by the West Shore Expressway, the Get Back to Work rally, which was a couple of hundred people. It was fantastic, Steve. Thank you very much. Thank you. Steve, I'm not going to explain it, but there was something that was made that he wants to present to the police here. We may have to come back when the commanding officer, Corey, is here. But Steve, why don't you tell us what you got?
Thank you. Steve Margarella, Diana, my partner in crime. We made this, we talked about making this thing, we were going to present it, and this event came up, and so he's not here to present it to, but I'm going to show it to you before it's bound and all, and beautiful. This is Diana's. Hi. Gorgeous. Mounted to the back and all, and that's our way of saying thank you. Standing there and looking at a flag that's half-mast. And I get it. I, for one, feel very strongly about what the men and women of our NYPD have had to endure these past several months. Sam alluded to the lack of leadership that we see, and I do agree with him. But I do blame the Democrats. Complete.
Well, I wasn't giving him a pass, Steve.
I blame them all. Because at the end of the day, they are responsible for what's occurring now. And I urge you, I'm sorry the crowd isn't big, but, every single one of us. I had surgery June 12th. I was coming out of the surgical suite. And I made a left turn to get to my car, and I realized that there was 3 cops standing over there. And I turned around and I walked to them. And almost with tears in my eyes, I thanked them for what they've had to endure. I own a construction company. When I'm on site, if one of my men have a problem, I make sure that I'm right there to take care of it. These guys got 30 years on them. They can handle the situation a lot better than I probably do. But at the end of the day, they're my responsibility. And what hurt me and what upsets me so greatly is that our great men and women of this New York Police Department have not been supported by one VP or the mayor's office. And I can't tell you how that angers me. That they are allowed to be in harm's way and have their hands tied. I can't tell you how that angers me. It's not right. But I'm going to ask you. And I'm going to make a request. That if and when you see men and women in uniform on the beat, please take a minute. Please thank them. Please let them know that they're loved and supported. Because what's happening to them right now in this city is unholy. And they should not be having to experience this. I'm glad to be here tonight. And it's unfortunate that we have to have this kind of a rally. And I don't know how to change it. And I don't think it can change until we change what's going on in Gracie Mansion. And I'm going to be honest, 1PP. Because I hold them responsible for letting these men and women experience and have to experience what they're going through. I couldn't do it for 20 minutes. I'd be the cop getting arrested for somebody coming in my face. Shouldn't have to. And no one should be allowed to. These are the same people that put their lives on the line day in and day out, never knowing what they're walking into to protect us, to keep us safe. Now because of what's going on in Gracie Mansion, nowhere in the city is safe.
Lazio's got to go.
You are sport.
Never too much.
Every one of you are sport for a young buck. They're not going to ask if you're a Democrat or Republican. They're going to drag you out of the car and beat you anyway. That's not on the cops. Because they weren't allowed to do their job. They should be supported. And it's not just the good cops. They're all good cops. All good cops. I say I don't know what it'll take to change it. We do know what it'll take to change it. We need to change Gracie Mansion. We need to turn the city red again the way we did with Giuliani.
Nobody's also pointing at me.
My guy. He's one of them. He's one of the red guys. He's one of the good guys.
All right.
But I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank Nick for putting this together. And I urge you, each and every one, take a minute and let these guys and girls on the beat, men and women, know that you support them, know that they're loved, and know that they're appreciated. Thank you.
Everybody, please welcome.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome civil litigation attorney and nominee for New York State Assembly, 63rd District, Mr. Anthony DeGuerre.
Hello everybody. Anthony DeGuerre. I'm the Republican candidate for the 63rd Assembly District. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I'm an attorney. I have a civil practice down in St. George, and a good part of my practice is representing children. Now, in the New York State Family Court. Well, I'm going to tell you, one of the things that's most heartbreaking is hearing about how community violence affects kids. You know, there's nothing like having 8, 9, 10-year-olds talk about their mom coming home from her second job at 11 o'clock at night, and they're worried about her. They're worried because there's drug dealers downstairs. They're worried the drug dealers are going to hurt her. You've got kids who like seeing their dad, but they're worried about staying at his house because they hear gunshots. Those are horrible things. And the question is, what do we do about things like that? Now, there's no question in the communities there's a brokenness. There's a brokenness that comes from fatherless homes. There's a brokenness that comes from drug abuse. There's a brokenness that comes from gang violence. Now, how do we start to address those issues? I'm a Christian. For me, I believe that God so loved the world, He gave His Son, that whoever believes in Him wouldn't perish but have eternal life. When you believe in Jesus, you commit your life, repent from sins. You can have that relationship in your personal life. When you have that relationship in your personal life, it spills over into your family and your neighbors. Now, it's America, and I know not everybody has the same faith I have, the same beliefs that I have. But for anybody who believes that it's the government's job to fix all of those things, I've got some bad news. America was founded on making a more perfect union. That's what Thomas Jefferson was saying when we declared our independence from England. He knew that people were flawed. He knew that people weren't perfect, but we would try and struggle for a more perfect union. What can we expect government to do? To protect our life, protect our liberty, protect our private property. And how does the government do that? It does it through law enforcement. Now, living in New York City, we're blessed to have the NYPD. It's one of the biggest police organizations in the country, and it's a model for policing throughout the world. But as we know in this last month, we've seen that the NYPD is under attack. It's under attack both politically and literally. We've seen legislation out of City Hall. We've seen legislation out of Albany that wants to criminalize police conduct. We've seen our police commissioner assaulted. And we've had calls for defunding the police. Late May, early June, we disbanded the anti-crime unit. And what did we see? The most violent shootings that this city's seen in 24 years. 205 shootings. So what do we do? What do we do with those things? I mean, what do we do politically? Well, first things we can do is coming out here like we are today. It's sending a message to elected officials. Sending a message to elected officials that we support the NYPD, that we support the work they do in protecting our communities and keeping our kids safe. Other thing we can do is we can go and vote in November. You've heard the saying, elections have consequences, and what we're seeing in this city today and what we're seeing in New York State today is the consequences of one-party rule. We're seeing what it is to have the Democrat governor, the Democrat assembly, Democrats all across the board. So what can you do? You can get involved locally with political parties that aren't Democrats. I'm a relative newcomer to the Republican Party, only having been involved the last couple of years. I was a little apprehensive getting involved in politics, but you beat the Staten Island GOP, and you're going to find a group of people who care about the safety, and they care about the prosperity of Staten Island, from Tottenville to Port Richmond. It's a group of people who care about the city. The Conservative Party, Staten Island Conservatives, you get an opportunity to meet them. Those are people that care about traditional values, faith, and family. And there's the SAM Party, which cares about transparency in government. So you want to get involved in local politics? Talk to some of these groups. Get involved. They care about the city. For me, I just want to thank Protect Our Kids for putting this together. Again, my name's Anthony DeGuerre. If you haven't connected with me, you can connect on Facebook, or you can connect at DeGuerre for Assembly or Anthony DeGuerre. I want to thank the NYPD for everything they do every day. They don't know what they're going into, but they help keep our city safe. And we need to support them through things like this and through the votes we make in November, because it's time for a change. It's time for a change to bring safety and prosperity to Staten Island. I want to thank you. I want to say God bless America and God bless Staten Island. Thank you. DeGuerre. It's D as in David, E, G as in golf, U-E-R-R-E. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Our next speaker is a 22-year veteran detective in the NYPD and a recipient of the highest honor of the NYPD, the Medal of Honor. He's also running for New York State Assembly in the 61st District, Mr. Paul Cicino.
Here, Paul. Good evening, Staten Island. You already said my name, so you took out my first paragraph. So my name is Paul Cicino. I'm running for the 61st Assembly District on the North Shore. I want to thank Nick for inviting me to gather with concerned citizens of Staten Island. As a detective in 22 years, I have seen what crime does to families, to lives, and to real people. I have personally seen how dangerous jobs of the NYPD go through each and every day while knowing that they may not return home. I, as a detective, was appreciated. I was next to the stop. Right next to me, got shot right in the head. Thank God I'm short-ended. I got the Medal of Honor. Dragged him out, and then he lived another 60 years. So I know what it's like. And I know what the people want. But the main thing is also is good. Everybody talks taking away the anti-crime unit, taking away certain groups, the funding money, bringing dollars to social services. The problem is the elected officials. They're making the laws criminal. Charge the cops criminally if they do something. If accidentally they step on someone's chest. You know how hard it is to fight with someone in the street that does not want to get arrested? It's impossible. Unbelievably impossible. So you call 85, which is cop assistance, and your friends come and you try to subdue the person. You try to handcuff them. And that's all. He gets handcuffed, gets put in the car, and he goes to jail. They don't even charge physically arresting him. You can all up to the cop, punch him in the face, goes to court, they let him out, no bail. So that's what cops are not afraid. They're afraid of losing their jobs. They're afraid of going to jail. That's what they're afraid of. And we're going to lose a lot of good cops. These laws are can't use. That's my thing about it. So when crime goes up, people lose. We need to listen to our communities and their individual needs as it comes to issues of crime, safety, and quality of life. However, the basic function of the city government is not allowed crime to go up and the quality of life. We need to support law enforcement with the resources and everything to keep New York City safe and keep crime off the streets. We can't wait till it goes up like it did in the 90s when I came on the job, 2,500 murders. It took almost 2 decades to get crime down to 300 murders 4 years ago. That's a lot. And Rudy Giuliani, Bill Brandt, Commissioner Kelly, and 35,000 cops that worked hard. So the last 7 years, Mayor de Blasio started small and the cops to get power away. So they can't even, in the protests, they can't even say nothing. They can't even do anything. So elected officials are the big part. So that's why I'm here today. Also, combined with, I'm talking about the government. Combined with the high taxes and unresponsive social services, a budget completely out of control. The city's broke. It's only the state. $8 billion, we're looking more like 13. Completely out of control. The last thing our city needs is a couple of life that maintains the rule of law. That's why we need all of you to turn out and vote to reject this radical agenda in November. Mostly important, I need you to help me. And my message is safety, prosperity, live on the North Shore? Know anybody that lives on the North Shore? Get involved. Please send them to me, Cina.com. The last name is CIURCINA.com. Tell the city and state that you had enough. God bless you, God bless the NYPD, and God bless Staten Island, and God bless America.
Thank you, Paul. Up next is my friend Eric Roman. He's an EMT who works in all 5 boroughs, and he's going to talk a little bit about what it's like responding to the immediate aftermath of a lawlessness in New York.
Eric!
Yeah, Eric! Thank you for your job.
Unfortunately, I lost my voice yesterday, so I have to use a megaphone. I'm usually know this. So, my name is Eric Roman. I'm an EMT. I respond to 911 calls for service in New York City. Whether that be the best day of your life when you got a stomach pain, or the worst day of your life when somebody gets shot. I respond to your job when you need help. And lately, since this whole riot situation has started in New York City, I've seen it firsthand, the violence that we've been facing. I've seen it where I go up to somebody's house, and we have somebody that's shot dead on the street. We have NYPD standing by trying to do their best, but again, like they've been saying, they're handcuffed. They have no way of helping out these poor innocent civilians and these citizens of this city. The one thing I have to say is New York City's in trouble. When you respond to a job, if the scene is not safe for an EMS provider, we're told to not respond to that job. Every scene nowadays is not safe. We're going into these jobs without the NYPD because they're handcuffed. They can't do what they're supposed to do, and what they're supposed to do is help us help you. I go into these houses of these poor people, and whether you have a mental crisis, you're breaking down, and the police officer's right there trying to talk you out of it. I've seen it firsthand. When you have a suicidal person in their house that wants to take their life, a veteran, let's say, is having a mental health crisis, and an NYPD officer there and talks to them, calms the situation down, and makes it better. And then I can take over and I can transport that person to the hospital and get the care that they need. In New York City, you're in trouble. Your elected officials are stopping the cops from doing what they're supposed to do. And if they can't do what they're supposed to do, myself, my colleagues, the FDNY, whatever it might be, can't do what we have to do for you. And that's save your life, protect those who need to be protected. Again, my name is Eric Roman. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. He's the best. I don't care what anybody else says about you. I don't want them up there. Former chairwoman of the Staten Island Republican Party, one of the strongest fighters for the next borough president of Staten Island, Ms. Leticia Remauro.
Thank you, Ned. Thank you for organizing this. And to my detractors, I just want you to know I have a mask on, but I'm going to take it off now so I can speak, although I know a lot of people would prefer me muffled. The first thing I want to say is thank you. Thank you to our brave men and women in the NYPD. Thank you for everything you do. I think Steve just lost our video feed, but we'll get it back. Listen, how many people would, and I want you to raise your hand, would take a job for $40,000 a year if you knew that you had to strap on a vest every day, leave your family, kiss them goodbye, and go outside to protect 8 million strangers without the backing of your boss, without the backing of your mayor, without the backing of your governor, without the backing of the city council. How many of you think that's an attractive job? Nobody? No takers? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's what we do every single day. Our NYPD is being sent outside into the violence, into the normal violence of New York City, which, by the way, not only are they controlling traffic, issuing tickets to make money for the city of New York. During COVID, they have to go and check that everybody's wearing a mask and social distance, right? Not only do they have to do these everyday chores that get them in trouble and get them in the face with New Yorkers who are angry, but now let's take it to what we really want them to do. They have to go into neighborhoods where they are being set up, where they are getting bottles and cans and crap literally thrown at them in a time of unrest that is only getting worse because the politicians are making it worse. I don't know about you, but when I was a child, my parents told me straight out, if you see a police officer, say thank you for your service. If that police officer is coming for you, say yes sir or yes ma'am, and then kiss your ass goodbye because I'm gonna. But trust them and do what they say. Because if you are being pulled over, if you are being stopped, if you are being questioned, it is for good reason. It is for, believe it or not, your own protection. And that is the God's honest truth. Which one of us here was ever stopped and we went and walked? Come on. What? Nobody? That's right. Usually, if we're being stopped by a police officer, we've done something to invoke that. And you know what? Let's be adults and accept it. But the more important thing is, we want our men and women to patrol our neighborhoods to keep us safe. And I work in some of the most difficult neighborhoods on Staten Island. I work down on Jersey Street with a not-for-profit. And every meeting, every month, do you know what the neighbors of Jersey Street ask for? And I should tell you that they run the colors of the rainbow. What do they ask for? More police presence. They want more police presence, not less. So what's happening here now is politically driven. We all must face the fact. We are being divided. We are being divided by people who hate America and hate us. They hate authority. They hate everything good that's happening because they want to be victimized. And I'm not talking about black people that are protesting against the George Floyd murder. And we all agree. I don't think there's one person here that doesn't agree that what happened to George Floyd was horrendous. It was horrendous and the people who did what they did will be brought to justice. But that wasn't that person's, as a law enforcement officer, when you strap on your vest in the morning and you leave your family, your intention isn't to hurt somebody. Your intention is to get home safe and to keep the people that you are sworn to safe. And ladies and gentlemen, it is on our shoulders now to get 10 more people, and 10 more people, and 10 more people, and tell the mayor, tell the governor, tell the world that America stands behind their law enforcement, and we will not accept us being torn asunder. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Reach out and say thank you to the Army, thank you, police, every chance you get. Thank you.
Thank you, Leticia.
Shout it out.
Thank you all for coming out. We really appreciate it. Thank you everyone who helped organize this. I wish there was a bigger crowd, but we made our voices heard regardless. Stay safe out there, get home safe, and vote.
Thank you. I just want to get a shot. Got it. Yeah. Come on in that picture.
Thank you so much.
Yes, no, maybe, come on. All right, have a good evening.